The water was warm, almost welcoming, but within hours, it became a liquid graveyard. On July 30th, 1945, the USS Indianapolis, a Portland-class heavy cruiser, was sliced in two by Japanese torpedoes. Of the 1,196 men on board, roughly 300 died instantly. The remaining 900 were cast into the Philippine Sea, a vast expanse of shark-infested water. They had no lifeboats, little fresh water, and fewer than 24 life rafts. The Navy did not realize the ship was missing for 4 days. By the time rescue arrived, only 316 men remained alive. This is the story of the USS Indianapolis, a voyage of top-secret importance, a catastrophic attack, and a survival ordeal that pushed men to the brink of madness. The USS Indianapolis was no ordinary ship. Launched in 1931, she had served with distinction throughout the Pacific War, surviving kamikaze attacks and earning 10 battle stars. But in July 1945, she was given a mission of unparalleled secrecy. Under the command of Captain Charles B. McVay III, a seasoned officer with a proud naval lineage, the Indianapolis was to deliver components of the atomic bomb, the very weapon that would end the war. On July 16th, she left San Francisco's Hunters Point Naval Shipyard, carrying the enriched uranium and other critical parts for Little Boy, the bomb destined for Hiroshima. The crew, mostly young and optimistic, believed they were on a routine mission. They had no idea that their voyage would lead them into the jaws of death. The Indianapolis steamed westward at a brisk 15.7 knots. The mood among the crew was light. Many believed the war was nearly over. They stopped at Pearl Harbor on July 19th, where the top-secret cargo was transferred under heavy guard. Then they continued alone, unescorted, toward the island of Tinian, where the atomic bomb would be assembled. Captain McVay requested a destroyer escort, but his request was denied. The Navy deemed the route safe. The ship made excellent time, crossing the international date line on July 26th. By July 28th, they had delivered their cargo and were ordered to proceed to Lake Gulf in the Philippines for training exercises. The crew relaxed, unaware that a Japanese submarine, the I-58, was lurking in their path. Despite the apparent safety, warning signs were ignored. On July 29th, the USS Underhill, a destroyer escort, was sunk by a Japanese submarine in the same area the Indianapolis would cross. The Navy, however, failed to relay this information to McVay. Moreover, the Indianapolis had been equipped with a new radar system designed to detect submarines, but it was not turned on because of the risk of detection, a decision that would prove fatal. That evening, the weather turned humid and overcast. The sea was calm, but the sky was moonless, offering perfect concealment for an enemy sub. At 11 p.m., the I-58 surfaced. Its commander, Lieutenant Commander Mochitsura Hashimoto, spotted the Indianapolis silhouetted against the horizon. He ordered his crew to battle stations. Aboard the Indianapolis, the crew settled into their nighttime routines. Many were asleep in their bunks, while others stood watch or played cards. The ship was not zigzagging, a standard evasive maneuver against submarines. McVay had been given discretion to zigzag based on visibility, but with the moonless night and the ship's speed, he decided it was unnecessary. This decision would later be used against him. At 11:30 p.m., Lookout spotted a torpedo wake, but it was too late. 2 torpedoes from the I-58 struck the Indianapolis on the starboard side, one near the forward fuel tank and another amidships. The explosions were catastrophic. A massive fireball erupted, and the ship began to list immediately. Within minutes, the power failed, plunging the vessel into darkness. Captain McVay, knocked from his bunk by the blast, struggled to assess the damage. The ship was listing heavily to starboard, and water was pouring in through a gaping hole. He ordered the crew to abandon ship, but the order came too late for many. The Indianapolis sank in just 12 minutes, the fastest sinking of a major warship in U.S. Navy history. There was no time to launch lifeboats or send a distress signal. Only a few rafts were released manually. Hundreds of men jumped into the oil-slicked water, which was now on fire in places. Those who survived the initial explosions faced a new horror. The water was teeming with sharks, drawn by the blood and commotion. The men had no way to call for help. The Navy had no idea the ship was gone. The survivors were scattered across a 20-mile radius. They clung to debris, rafts, and each other. As dawn broke on July 30th, the true scale of their predicament became clear. The water was warm, but the sun was merciless. Without fresh water, men began to hallucinate within hours. The first shark attacks came at dusk. Oceanic white-tip sharks, aggressive and fearless, began circling. They targeted the wounded, the isolated, and the dead. Men screamed as they were pulled under. The attacks continued for days. At night, the survivors heard the sounds of feeding, splashing, and cries that grew fainter. Some men drank seawater, hastening their madness. Others fought over rafts or gave up entirely, slipping beneath the waves. The sharks were relentless, claiming dozens of lives each day. By the third day, the survivors were in a state of collective delirium. The sun had burned their skin, and saltwater sores covered their bodies. They drank rainwater when they could, but it was scarce. The shark attacks continued unabated. One survivor, Dr. Lewis Haynes, described how men would simply disappear, a scream, a splash, and then nothing. The sharks grew bolder, bumping against rafts and snatching men from the edges. Some men resorted to forming a circle, kicking at the sharks to keep them at bay. But exhaustion and dehydration made it impossible to maintain. The water, once a source of hope, had become a prison. On August 2nd, a Navy PV-1 Ventura on a routine patrol spotted the survivors, 4 days after the sinking. The pilot radioed for help, and rescue ships began to arrive. Rescue operations commenced immediately. The destroyer USS Cecil J. Doyle was the first to arrive, pulling men from the water. Many were too weak to climb the nets. Others had to be cut free from shark-bitten rafts. Of the 900 men who entered the water, only 316 survived. The rest had succumbed to sharks, exposure, or suicide. The survivors were taken to hospitals in Guam and the Philippines, where they were treated for severe dehydration, saltwater poisoning, and psychological trauma. Captain McVeigh was rescued, but would face a court-martial for failing to zigzag, a decision that haunted him for the rest of his life. The Navy initially tried to hide the disaster, but the story leaked, becoming a symbol of official negligence. The survivors bore the scars forever. The sinking of the USS Indianapolis remains the worst naval disaster in U.S. history. It also holds the record for the largest number of deaths from shark attacks. Captain McVeigh was court-martialed in 1945, a controversial decision that many believed made him a scapegoat. He was convicted of hazarding his ship, but was later exonerated posthumously in 2001. The ship's secret mission, delivering atomic bomb components, was not revealed until decades later. The Indianapolis serves as a grim reminder of the cost of war and the fragility of human life. If you want to see more stories of doomed expeditions and forgotten tragedies, subscribe to Doomed Expeditions. Click the bell icon to never miss an update. Thank you for watching.